In the early 1800s, the Brothers Grimm, who were famous for taking and collecting stories from all around that go way back, long before they existed, they took a story and fashioned it into the Hansel and Gretel, the two kids who fall upon a witch's home and enter it, and the witch tries to devour them. This story was taken from stuff that goes way back to even the Middle Ages, like hundreds of years before the Brothers Grimm wrote it and put it into their collection. And then if you take that idea of going into forbidden places, this goes back a long way. Generally, when someone goes into a forbidden place or a forbidden room, they usually find something awful, usually death, dismembered bodies, cannibals, the worst of the worst. And we could see that trend and that legacy of storytelling translate over, hundreds, thousands of years into stuff like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is basically Tobe Hooper and Kim Henkel's version of Hansel and Gretel. What do you find when you go into the Sawyer home? You find dismembered bodies and, the Ed Gein stuff. It's not just Ed Gein, it's actually further back than that. John Carpenter talked about there are two types of horror. There's the interior horror, the horror inside, and the horror outside. There's something out there that's trying to get me, or there's something within me, inside me, that's the horror's coming out. So we have that going through history, and there's a lot of stories of people going to forbidden places or strangers in a strange land type of thing, where a character will go into a place that's foreign to them and dangerous to them. Even something as simple as Dracula. In Dracula, Jonathan Harker goes into Count Dracula's castle, and what's waiting for him there, is death, is the vampire, is death incarnate. People are so hooked up on originality and whether or not something is completely original, when it's in our history that we just recycle stories. We recycle, and horror in general is usually about cautionary tales, and urban legends are usually to warn people of danger, of death, of things that can hurt you and harm you. And that's where, the Brothers Grimm stories come from. That's where, all these stories come from. So in 2019, a film came out called Midsommar. It was written and directed by a guy named Ari Aster, who, it was his second film. His debut was called Hereditary. I'm a big fan of both of these films. I think he's one of the best filmmakers working today. Again, you don't have to agree with that. You don't have to feel that way. And criticisms come in all ways, and hey, it's fine to criticize stuff. But the one criticism that I get really tired of seeing, and I keep hearing, is people dismissing Midsommar as nothing but The Wicker Man from 1973, starring Christopher Lee. I mean, if you're just looking at the surface, if you're looking at the bare minimum, and you just see paganism, then yeah. But we see, you could do that with any film. You could look at any film released and go, oh, that looks like this, or that could be that, or this, all that stuff. But you have to get down to, is it really just a ripoff, or is it something completely unique? Because again, there are no original stories. What is The Wicker Man, essentially? Break it down to bare bones. What is The Wicker Man? It's about a stranger in a strange land. It's a classic story that goes long, way before 1973. The film itself was based on a book called Ritual. Julius Caesar had written about fighting in what is now France, and that he mentioned that they would burn like the special criminals in a wicker type man thing. Essentially, when you get down to it, it is just a stranger in a strange land story where a man is going into a dangerous place where harm is going to happen to him. And we've seen this in so many films. Again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes. Again, Dracula. I mean, it goes way, way back, even further. I mean, Edgar Allan Poe and Lovecraft wrote stuff like this, of communities and dangerous Satanists, whatever it is, whatever the threat is, it's a basic old plot. So you can't hold any film to just that simple plot. Once you get past the plot, because Midsummer has that same plot, we have a group of characters who are going into a foreign land, a dangerous place that they don't understand, and danger is awaiting them. So once you get through that, and the fact that they're both about pagans and pagan rituals and religions, that's about it. Because from here you have to look at what are the themes, what are the films about, each one, who are the protagonists of these films. The Wicker Man is about this police officer, Sergeant Howie, played by Edward Woodard of the Equalizer fame. Howie comes to this island in Scotland, Summer Isle, and it looks like just any other European type little town, but the people there are really friendly. But he immediately notices that there are some differences between the world that he comes from and what he's seeing here. These people seem to be very happy, very open, very free, but also very heathen. Howie is a strong Christian faith, and that kind of defines him. He's also, a virgin. I mean, this is a guy who is as straight arrow as they come, and he lives by the Bible. He lives by God's word, and so he comes into this place where these people are, making love in the fields, and all these, and he sees that they worship pagan gods, gods who, in his world, it's blasphemy to do what they're doing. They're wrong, and they're teaching their children. So he's completely appalled by what he sees, and he's also coming to them as an authority figure. He has, or believes he has, power when he comes there, that he is someone that they should be listening to and afraid of. And he's brought there because he's on an investigation. This is a mystery movie, a murder mystery, or a missing persons thing. He gets a letter anonymously about a young girl named Rowan who is missing, and he's looking for her. He's questioning everybody. So that is his motivation. Every character in a film has a goal or a motivation. Howie's motivation is to find Rowan, find out what happened to her. Is she kidnapped? Is she dead? Did they murder her? What is it? And as he keeps unfolding things, he finds that, people are hiding the truths, and they're, and he's frustrated with it, but he's also conflicted by his religious background and the upsetting stuff he sees around him. It very, very much upsets him because it goes against everything he's ever known and loved and lived his life at. And, he discovers that these people are practicing this paganism because the community was started by Christopher Lee's character's grandfather, I believe, who was into agriculture, and they were able to plant a special type of fruit tree or something on this island, and it got them famous. It made them a whole lot of money. So to get the land to provide, the grandfather adopted these pagan rituals and these gods to make money, and then after a while, they became known for their produce, and they just kept the religion. So these people grew up with this religion, and Christopher Lee says that they kept it out. His father kept it out of love. His grandfather was all about profit, and they need a victim, a sacrifice, because the crops aren't growing. And that's what they believe, that God needs an offering. Their gods need an offering. And so they're going to find this person who they can bring in to be that sacrifice. Howie doesn't realize that he's there for this purpose, to be their sacrifice. He's trying to solve this murder. But what they don't know is that, it's really the island itself that just can't provide. And Christopher Lee knows this, and he's just killing someone. He knows that Woodard knows that his death is not going to fix it, that it's all bullshit, and at the end he's killed. So if we move to Midsummer, what is Midsummer about? It's not about any of that. It really isn't. Our protagonist is not a Christian. She's not there. She's not motivated to be there to solve a murder or missing persons, or no one, sent her a letter to come there. She's not coming there in a place of authority. She's coming there in the very opposite, someone who is broken and weak and vulnerable. The character Danny is dealing with grief. She's just lost her mom and her dad and her sister. Her sister's bipolar and committed murder-suicide. And Danny herself is struggling with her own mental illness and her own anxieties and fears. And this is like the biggest blow in the world, and she's trying to cope. And the only person she has left is her boyfriend, Christian, and his friends. And she knows that Christian is moving away from her, and she's become very codependent on him. And at that same time, she's doing whatever she can to hold on to him, because she's afraid she'll lose him, because if she loses him, she'll feel completely lost. And she's so desperate to hold on to Christian that she takes blame for things that she's not responsible for. It's him that's responsible. And he's too much of a coward to tell her, look, it's done, it's over. And understandably, she's just gone through this horrible thing. He ends up inviting her to attend a vacation in Sweden. They have a friend who's from Sweden, from a community, who happens to practice these old rituals that he grew up in. He was an orphan, he grew up there, and they've invited him. And one of the group, Josh, is there. They're all in college, and he's chosen to write about these rituals and these cultures. And so Pele, who is the Swedish friend who belongs to the community, has invited them to come there to study and hang out. And so she goes because she realized, I need to get away, and I got to go with Christian or I'm going to lose him. And so she goes with him. And she's trying to hold on to herself. But as soon as she gets there, she has been manipulated to be there. They plan to have her there, because when they arrive, one of the elders is, introduced to her and the group, and he welcomes them in, but he hugs her and tells her, welcome home. They want her there, that she's supposed to be there, and that she's grounded there. There's this thing where they take the mushroom tea, and she sees the grass growing through her hands, and later on through her feet. She's rooted there now. She's grounded. This is where she belongs. Over the course of the film, this community completely embraces her and shows her the way that she needs, that she doesn't realize. She sees how they deal with grief, how they deal with death. They're all cool about it. They're calm about it. Their belief system has created peace within them, and that's what sells Danny on them. And as Pele tells her, I feel held. Did you feel held by Christian? And the more and more they stay there, the more and more that surrogate family falls apart. Christian and his friends. By midway through the film, they are no longer together, and Christian's ready to throw Josh and the others under the bus, and he's no longer really giving Danny starting to see that he really truly does not care, that he is not there for her. And that's what Midsummer is about. It's a breakup movie. And the theme of it is this young woman who's broken, who's lost her family, is looking for family, looking for stability. And what she does is she finds family in this community. By the end of the film, she's where she needs to be. She's embraced by these people. Every step of the way, they share her pain, they share everything, and that is what draws her in. So this movie is a breakup film, but also a film about family and someone finding their family. It has nothing to do with The Wicker Man. If you take out the whole, they're pagans and they do a ritual and they burn, a bunch of people for sacrifice at the end. Other than that, the movie is completely different. It's You can't take a simple plot line or little bitty things. I mean, if you do, then you have to dismiss Friday the 13th and every slasher movie made after Halloween. Every film is inspired by something else, plain and simple. And Ari wasn't even inspired by The Wicker Man. He was approached to write a movie, make a movie by these Swedish guys and about these rituals, and they wanted a Hostel movie. Hostel's another movie about people going into a foreign land. We've seen these stories before, and people choose to criticize or hold against these movies what they don't hold against other movies. And this doesn't end there. Every movie has come from something else. We're all influenced by something. But Ari he wasn't interested in making that movie. He wasn't interested in making Hostel. He was going through a breakup at the time, and he himself was like Danny in the relationship. So he translated his personal feelings and experiences into this film. And he was inspired by stuff like A Modern Romance and the films of Ingmar Bergman. He's a huge Bergman fan. This film is coming from other places and stories and films that came way before The Wicker Man. So when you get to that, the source it's just surface. It is not just The Wicker Man. Anyone who watches this film and just says, oh, this is just The Wicker Man, is not paying attention. Wicker Man is not about grief. Wicker Man is not about a breakup or a relationship. That's all Midsummer is. One's a murder mystery. The other is a relationship drama, a mental illness film. So when I see people say, oh, that's just The Wicker Man, I just shake my head, because I'm sorry, it's not. It's just there's too many differences between these two films. If that's how you're judging films and that's how you're dismissing films, because you could, go ahead and insult, think, oh, it's too long, it's too slow, I didn't like the characters, or I didn't like the actors, all that stuff. Whatever, that's fine. It doesn't really attack the execution or the work of the filmmakers. When you make a statement like that, be able to back it up, and you can't back it up. Strangers in a strange land, pagans, burning sacrifice. That's it. That's it. Guy in a mask on a holiday with a sharp object, one by one, kills off teenagers. You've seen it 1,000 times. You have action figures and t-shirts. Guy's family, somebody in his family is murdered, hurt, injured, hospitalized, whatever. He's ex-military or ex-CIA or ex-martial artist, whatever the fuck he is, and he goes off and gets revenge on these people who wronged him. Plots are not everything. Plots are just the groundwork. It's how you tell a story. One of my favorite films, Drive, is a very, very simple film. Very simple story that we've seen before. It's the way Refn told it. Westerns. Almost every Western's the same damn story. Every spaghetti Western is almost the same damn story, but it's how you tell the story. We're all influenced by something. It all stems from something else. And we can't just watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and go, that's just Alan Quartermain shit. You can't watch Star Wars and go, it's just Buck Rogers. You can't just watch Back to the Future and say, oh, that's just the time machine. Surface and plot. It's no way to judge a film or dismiss a film. What is the film about? How does it make you feel? What are the themes? What are they trying to say? What are they trying to make you feel? Who are the characters? What are their goals? What are their motivations? When you look at that, two films are nothing alike.